After my wedding, the supposed best day of a gal's life, I went home and I cried. And make no mistake, these were not tears of joy. Yeah, not exactly the start to a modern fairy tale, right? Yeah. You see, I had originally just wanted to elope with my husband, but instead I spent so long trying to impress and please other people with this big wedding that I lost sight of so many things. But out of this attempt at having this amazing, enviable big day, I actually learned something really, really important about every single one of us, and how comparison and expectations and norms are quite possibly keeping us from living the most fulfilling lives. My name is Sam. I'm an author and an adventure elopement photographer. I help empower couples to live their truest lives, starting with their wedding. And I'm here today to show you just how unique you are, and why that uniqueness should be reflected in all facets of your wedding and your life, regardless of what norms or expectations tell you. Why you can certainly elope for your wedding, like I wish I did, but you can also take that one step further and elope your life. So, because the term elope is so prevalent in all this, let's start off by talking a little bit about what that means. So, what comes to mind when you think of the traditional word elope? Well, if you're like a lot of people, some associative words like sadness, shame, disapproval, or boring courthouse wedding come to mind. That being said, do these people who eloped look like they fit that sad, shameful, or boring courthouse wedding descriptor? Or these? Now I know what you're thinking. Boring, right? Yeah. All kidding aside, the English language and definitions are constantly changing. And the word elope doesn't necessarily mean what it used to. Now, instead of running away from something, you're actually running to something. You're running to yourself, your relationship, and what's true to you. And that's not something often seen with a lot of weddings and wedding planning. If you've ever been involved in planning a wedding, whether it was your own or a friend's, the next few examples I'm going to give will either, number one, trigger flashbacks, sorry, or at the very least, have you nodding your head and internally saying, ugh, yes. Now, if you haven't had the pleasure of planning a wedding, consider this a potential preview. You're inviting me, right? Well, why weren't we invited? Well, if Joe isn't invited, I'm not coming either. Chicken or fish, or a vegan option? Seating arrangements, wedding favors, and the coup de grace, the dreaded Aunt Carol. Notice a common theme? It's all about what others want or pleasing other people. And so many couples get stuck on that, making sure guests have the exact food that they want, appeasing loved ones who insist that that certain person be invited, making sure your wedding just isn't generally seen as tacky. And you see, all those things, they're about something much bigger. It all comes down to this highly technical and scientific fact. We just want people to like us. And that is where we get it all wrong. Your wedding day is supposed to represent you and your spouse, right? But instead, we are so focused on making people like us and having people approve of our wedding that we lose sight of who we are and what actually represents us. We're trying to solve a problem so far downstream by making a wedding where everyone's happy that we don't take a moment and think how we can stop that at its source by asking, is a wedding even us? And that's hard to do, because from the time you learn what a wedding is, you learn what a wedding should be. No one ever gives us a moment to stop and reflect on how a wedding is representative of us. No! We're whisked past it, made to focus on those required details. You guys know the ones. The dress, the cake, the bouquet, the guests, the reception, the party favors. The list goes on. It's become so ingrained in us that it's really hard to take a step back and ask ourselves, is this even really me? Is this really us? Not to mention, you have all those other people who feel like they have to have the best wedding that falls in line with those norms and expectations. First dances become more choreographed. Dance floors become more glamorous. The serving of food becomes an entertainment spectacle. And because we want people to approve of our wedding, and by extension, approve of us, we see all this guest satisfaction with all this pomp and circumstance, and we think, oh, duh, this is what I have to do. And just like that, we have trapped ourselves in that toxic comparison game. We haven't even given ourselves a chance to think, is this what I want to do? And this goes for every aspect of our lives, not just weddings, from what we should study in college to what we're told is the gold standard for beauty. Most any decision we make has us potentially worrying about what others may do or say. And ultimately, we gotta stop. We gotta stop and ask ourselves these really, really important questions about all aspects of our life. Am I doing this because I love it, or because of what others are potentially doing or saying? And make no mistake, this takes a lot of self-reflection and introspection. And it's probably part of the reason I end up being sort of a part-time, unofficial therapist/listening ear for a lot of my couples, because we dig into a lot of that stuff. Now, I want to talk to you about that toxic comparison game for a minute. And I want to tell you why it's absolute garbage. Did you know it's not objectively fair to compare yourself to anyone else? Yeah, I'm going to tell you why. You are absolutely unique. There is not another person on this earth like you. There never has been, and there probably never will be. No one else has your specific set of experiences. And that means in order to fairly and objectively compare yourself to someone, you would have to start off with the exact same set, from upbringing to personality traits to life experiences, all the way down to what your hair color is and what some bully said to you during second period in high school. Just me on that last one. Cool. But all these things and more greatly influence how we see and react to the world, and in turn, how others react to us. The permutations of these factors are exponential. Now, for those of you who need the cold, hard statistics, I've got you covered. Because I can statistically prove that you are so unique, it is absolutely impossible to fairly compare yourself to anyone else in this grand race that we call life. So let's bust out a couple of those important facts. First, the odds of having someone look like you based on 8 key facial features is 1 in 1 trillion. Some of those facial features include ear length, circumference of your head, distance between the center of one pupil to the other. That means that out of 1 trillion people, there are just 2 that have those same 8 features. And keep in mind, this doesn't mean that they're absolutely physically identical. Now, when we think about that, we also kind of have to ask ourselves, well, how many people have ever lived? Well, according to the Population Reference Bureau, they used 2019 data, and they dug way back into the fossil record, 50,000 years to the first modern Homo sapiens. And the number they came up with was, in comparison, a measly 108 billion. Now, those numbers are big and abstract, so let's put them into context. We would need 10 times the amount of people who have ever lived on this planet to equal that 1 trillion number. And that stat, that's just based on facial features. one of the most insignificant building blocks of what makes us who we are. So just imagine the additional differences in things like body structure, access to nutrition, upbringing, beliefs, values, relationships that are possible. These stats are just the tip of the iceberg. You are never working with the same set of variables as anyone else for any endeavor in life because of this. You're always working with a unique set completely your own. And once you realize that it's impossible to compare yourself to anyone else because you're so unique, you can start focusing a lot more on your own happiness and your own race in life. And the cool thing about that is, because you're the only one running your particular race, you are guaranteed to win. That is what eloping your life can do for you. You can live a more fulfilled life and ultimately become the person who you were meant to be in the process. And the thing about this is, this whole concept, you don't have to elope on your wedding day in order to elope your life. Heck, you don't even have to get married. Life is full of moments, like weddings, where we're constantly being told what should be done. And we never stop and think and ask ourselves, is this right for me? You can choose any moment, any opportunity to begin the process of growth and self-discovery. So, you might be thinking, Sam, how do I do this? What are some examples of ways that I can elope my life without actually eloping on my wedding day? I'm glad you asked. I want to be able to give some examples that are both big and seemingly insignificant, but no less important, because we can truly elope our lives on a variety of levels. The couples that you saw at the beginning of this talk who eloped, one of them was scared to speak in public. And so they eloped their lives by signing up to speak at a convention on a topic they are passionate about. Another, they went back to school to pursue a career that they loved instead of the one that was currently draining them. And another, well, she asked herself, man, well, what if I really want to go see that new movie that came out in theaters, but none of my friends can go? Spoiler alert, she realized she could still go see the movie by herself. I eloped my life by eloping my hair. Now, real talk for a second. Long hair has always been sort of a safety blanket, sort of defense mechanism for me. And when I was younger, it was a given, like it was for a lot of girls, that pretty girls have long hair. Now, obviously, I've still got some long hair, but cutting it into a mohawk was really nerve-wracking. And if you've had long hair for any period of time and debated chopping it all off, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, is this hairstyle changing the world? No, but it might change the outlook for one little girl who's never liked long hair, or the expectations that come with that traditional gender role. And the possibilities are endless. Are you living in a location because you love it there, or because of potential negative blowback from family that you'd receive if you decided to leave? Elope your location. Are you pursuing a career because you love it, or is it because it's the career that you've always been told is the right choice, or that's what successful people do? Elope your career. Are you afraid to order that pizza on a first date and instead order a salad so you won't be seen as a little too overindulgent? Elope your dinner. Cut your hair. Get married. Or don't. Study the arts in college. Be a football-playing ballet lover. Any decision you make, ask yourself, am I doing this for me, or because it's what's expected? And bonus, when you elope your life and live authentically and unapologetically, others are inspired to do the same. You can empower others to be their weird, quirky, beautiful, brainy selves simply by showing them that they can. And how is that for minimum effort with maximum impact? I want to end by helping you guys take the next steps and the first steps in eloping your life. Now, let's all take a moment, and I'm going to do it with you. Take a moment to think about one thing that makes you who you are, especially if it's gone against some norm or expectation. And when you have something, raise your hand. Don't worry, I'm not going to call on you. You are safe. Got it? Good. I want to tell you right now that I already know that I love that thing about you. Yeah, I see some smiles and everything out there. So with that reaction, you cannot tell me that you don't also love that thing about you. Now, how can you take that thing that we both love about you and transform it into an action that you can use to elope your life in some way? Congrats, you just took the first step. Now, continue to be proud of those unique things about you, and listen to those pieces of you next time that you're confronted with a norm or an expectation that so desperately wants to fit you inside of a box that you just don't fit in. And furthermore, what is stopping you from living every single day like that, whether it's your wedding or not? Start by reflecting inward and asking yourself, is this truly me? And then make today and every single day going forward the day that you make the decision to elope your life.